What's really insidious about this is that there's another provision in New York law that requires Trump to pony up the full amount or to get a bond for that amount just to appeal this decision. So it's a sort of a perverse incentive for figures like this judge. If he made this so large that it could force Trump to liquidate assets in New York just to be able to get other judges to look at this.
All right, so that was legal expert Jonathan Turley tearing into this massive $355 million civil fraud ruling against former President Donald Trump. Trump's legal team is now preparing to appeal that ruling, which could be very costly to the former president's real estate empire. Trump's attorney with this.
Within 30 days, even if we choose to appeal this, which we will, we have to post the bond, which is the full amount and some. They know by looking at his statements of financial condition that this guy is worth a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars, and that didn't even include his brand. What they're doing is a scare tactic. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong guy to pick on.
So former President Donald Trump's new properties, perhaps all of them, could now be at risk. That includes 2 golf resorts and multiple large New York City buildings, including his iconic Trump Tower. Entrepreneur Kevin O'Leary popping off on this, saying the judgment has made New York go from bad to worse.
New York was already a loser state. There are many loser states because of policy, high taxes, uncompetitive regulation. It was already on the top of the list of being a loser state. I would never invest in New York now, and I'm not the only person saying that. How are we going to attract business? It's not just the existing businesses that are fleeing out to Texas and Florida. What about new money? Not a chance I would put that in New York. Zero probability. Never.
Jackie DeAngelis, co-host of The Big Money Show, is here. A lot of people are talking about Kevin's comments there, right? Because people have been worried about New York for quite some time. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of crime. You know, there's a lot of theft happening. Businesses are fearful of doing business in certain areas, especially of this city. So does this ruling against the former president, the civil fraud ruling, do you think it hurts the chances of businesses wanting to do business in this city?
It definitely doesn't make it better. Let's put it that way. I don't disagree with Kevin O'Leary at all. But what I think about is the $1 trillion in assets that's already left the city for the reasons that you've mentioned. I mean, we've created an environment here that is not conducive to business at all. So I don't see people wanting to start new businesses here, certainly not doing anything to draw them in. When I look at what happened to President Trump, though, I really think this was a personal assault on him. They wanted to go after him. He is a very wealthy man, but they don't know how his money is tied up. It may not all be liquid. This could present a little bit of a speed bump for him, having to sell some properties or putting up that $355 million, as Alina Habba said. It's more like $450 million when you include the interest as they wait for an appeal. So he's going to have to deal with that. What's interesting to me, Sandra, is the way the Democrats are spinning this. And Michael Cohen, who used to be on his team, we know they have a bad relationship. He turned around and said something to the effect of, yeah, have to watch out for President Trump, because this is going to put him in a cash crunch. And all of a sudden, you could have a potential president, you know, on the ticket that's up for sale. And I started laughing because I said to myself, the only conversation we've been having, and you had it earlier, about a president that's allegedly up for sale is Joe Biden.
Right. There's a Trump insider quoted in the New York Post this morning saying, I can't imagine that he's going to hold on to any assets in New York State after this. You know, the bigger question is, does this send a message to other businesses that would be looking to do business here or currently do that might be thinking about leaving? People are talking about that.
Absolutely. And what happens is people worry. They say, if you can assault him in this way, if you can go after him, then maybe you're going to come after me. Why should I do business here when there are so many more business-friendly states that I could do business? In Florida, in Texas, for example. We've seen Elon Musk make that historic move. So I think people are looking at New York and saying, unless you do something to change the vibe here, to turn this environment around, not for me.
The to be sure here is that as much as we talk about the homeless crisis, the migrant crisis happening here, there's obviously a lot of crime that is deterring people from wanting to move here. Real estate prices have held up.
They have.
Commercial real estate and residential real estate, we have to sort of separate the two. But as far as residential real estate, for as much as I can tell, it's holding up and still doing quite well.
I just spoke to a realtor on Sunday who actually said, if you were waiting for prices to bottom, you missed it. They're already on the way up. People are looking for Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. That will send the prices up. How demand has managed to keep in residential real estate is amazing to me here. But to some degree, this is New York City. There is value in everything around us, Sandra.
Having easy access to things out your doorstep for sure. It's a far cry from what it was a few years ago.
Oh, sure.
But, you know, there's hope that it can come back.
I'm a faithful. I'm going to be here till the end.
You live in the city, yep, and you walk to work. Thanks for joining us,
Thanks,
Jackie.
Sandra.
Good to see you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.